Hey US history students, I'm Hession. Hope you're staying happy, healthy, and safe. So we're getting towards the end. It's hard to believe that you would have had your regions 2 weeks ago, but we're coming toward the end of the school year. We have only a couple days left to post new assignments. So I've had you look at the civil rights movement last week, and I just kind of want to go over that, and also 1950s America. And I'm going to start off with talking about Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson, perhaps breaking the color barrier in baseball, is one of the highlights of the 20th century that does get a lot of love, but I don't think enough love. I understand that the climate at the time did not allow African Americans to actively participate in predominantly white areas. And baseball was America's sport. It was the football, the college football, NFL, of today, rolled into one. And okay, and throw in the NBA. You kids love the NBA. It's not for me, but the most important thing to understand about Jackie Robinson is that he did it, and he did it courageously. The movie 42, excellent, and it's pretty accurate to everything. The most important thing with Jackie Robinson is that he couldn't react to all the racism that was being thrown at him, and it takes a very special person not to. And he faced some extreme hardships. And Jackie Robinson was a phenomenal athlete. Ran track at UCLA. But Jackie Robinson's character is perhaps more important than what he did on the field. And he's a Hall of Famer. The guy did great. He's the first rookie of the year ever. So Jackie Robinson sets the tone, because now you put an African American in the positive light of America's game. And when we look at the 1950s and the 1960s, we see in 1970s a tremendous amount of African American baseball players. And you see to the point today where, white kids wearing Air Jordans of an African American, and looking around all the protests, a lot of the protesters are that are white, and that's something that was unfathomable during Jackie Robinson's time. Just to see the strides that we have made, with many more strides to go, I will emphasize. But Jackie Robinson is a special person during this time period, and we see kind of like a trickle down effect. We see with President Truman get desegregating the army. Okay, African Americans now could fight next to white soldiers, because in World War II they had African American units. I was like, what is it? 1840? Come on, what are we doing here? So, and he ends segregation in the army, and he becomes an advocate for civil rights. Now, the Warren Court, I have a big emphasis. So the Warren Court makes many key decisions as far as civil rights go, and perhaps the biggest one is Brown versus Board of Education. Now, let's go back to February when I taught you Plessy versus Ferguson. It said that black and whites can live separately. What university? And terrible decision. So Brown versus Board of Ed reversed the decision, making sure that African Americans did not have to look kind of in their own separate world. Okay, they could drink out of the same water fountains. All right, and I remember showing you those pictures of the difference of the water fountains, and that was America. That was America. So segregated hotel rooms. I mean, still in Florida at the time, the late 1950s, mid 1950s, that African American ball players could not go to the same hotels in Florida as their white teammates. I mean, come on. That it's unbelievable how much that has changed in the last 70 years, and with so much still more to go. Okay, so the Little Rock Nine, pretty much the Arkansas was saying, no, we're not going to allow these African Americans to the school. And, well, President Eisenhower said, okay, you're defying the federal government, I will send in the National Guard. And he did. And Eisenhower was a general, great general. He's the mastermind behind D-Day. And you're going to tell that guy no? Okay, that didn't work out well for the governor of Arkansas. So imagine if you're a student just looking to go to school and gets an Army escort. That's where we were at. Okay, and you can see the pictures on the PowerPoint from the other day, and we see people like Rosa Parks. Okay, she practiced civil disobedience, and I showed you posted on Friday the video on civil disobedience and its effectiveness over time. And the Montgomery bus boycott is a huge example. And by the way, it didn't last a day, it didn't last a month, it lasted a year. So change, unfortunately, can be very rapid, it could be very slow. And that leads to perhaps one of the most important figures of the 20th century, Dr. Martin Luther King. And he has my favorite speech ever. I'll get to that in a minute. But he organized many peaceful protests in the South and the North. Obviously a big civil rights leader. And if you look at the pictures that African Americans faced, okay, I mean, it's terrible. And like that's America. Come on, you gotta do better than that. And we get the changes when you see President Kennedy making a speech on civil rights bill. Okay, and that leads to Dr. King's famous speech, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Perhaps one of my favorite lines ever. And that's, it holds very true. Okay. And as I said in the video last week, week and a half ago, like, be good people. That's all you can be. Be a good person and treat others with respect, how you want to be treated. It does not matter the color of their skin. What matters is your character and making this world a slightly better place every single day. So that was the civil rights movement. One thing I want to get into, the 1950s America with Eisenhower continuing. So we see a huge amount of prosperity in the 1950s. A lot of money was being spent. Okay, for the first time ever, we actually did a successful transfer from a wartime economy to a peacetime economy. And we see the middle class, the classic middle class, starting to really emerge. And it's in suburbia. People move out of the cities into the modern day suburbs. So like Long Island, New Jersey, and all that. A lot of rapid growth. And you see a lot of neighborhoods, well, there's like 3 models, 4 models, 5 models, and that's it. And which one's my house? So, lots of striking similarities. With my development, it was built in the 1980s, but there's 4 types of houses. That's it. So it's like every 4th house is a repeat. So, Levittown is the classic example. I don't know, Long Island, and we see like the nostalgia of the 1950s in America, like the dad with the grill, mom in the kitchen, the kids playing in the backyard, raising hell. I mean, phenomenal stuff there. So we see even TV enter the household and perpetuate those stereotypes, more or less, with like the Leave It to Beavers, Father Knows Best, I Love Lucy. And I showed you Duck and Cover last week. Obviously, that played a huge role in it. I want to skip over that though. But what makes the suburbs very successful is, well, people need to get to work. Their jobs are still in the cities. And the Federal Highway Act of 1956 was a two-pronged attack here. Create infrastructure, and our country is huge with infrastructure. We talk about the railroads, canals back in the day. The Federal Highway Act of 1956 creates I-95 and all those interstates that we take for granted. And that makes it possible for people to get from point A to point B rather quickly and efficiently. No stop signs, no lights. And that enables us to go down to Florida without the interstates, I-95 specifically. We do not see Florida's growth. Because New Yorkers, and New Jerseyans, they like to go up and down I-95 to one, see Mickey Mouse and see Grandma. Florida's growth is built on the 1950s and 1960s infrastructure being put in place, such as more airplanes, air transportation, and also the interstates being put together. And see, that is also because Eisenhower, again, was a military guy. If the country was invaded, well, those roads would be used for tanks. Notice how wide they are. And also, if you notice right by Newark Airport, how straight it is, what do you think that's for in an emergency? So, but we see, as time goes by, a lot of northern cities begin to lose populations because they were factories, and now factories aren't much of a factor. That's called the Rust Belt. If you go to Ohio, Michigan, northern Illinois, okay, upstate New York, northern Pennsylvania, where there were huge factory towns, well, they're not factory towns anymore because we don't have factories. So we see the decline of the great northern cities and industrial areas. Well, where the jobs go, they went down south. Okay, a lot of people start moving up down south, more job opportunities there, and people quickly figure out that the weather is significantly better down there than it is here. I mean, we have like 5 days of good weather a year. I mean, that's it. All right, 2 weeks. I'll give you 2 weeks of good weather, and then it's either too hot or too cold, or too windy, or too rainy. I'm sorry, I'm ranting there. But a lot of this was made possible because of the GI Bill. A lot of people got their college education through the GI Bill, which is still in place today, where if you serve in the military will give you money towards college, which is great. So that's what also gives a rise, a big boom to colleges and universities being established, and the idea that you need to go to college to be successful. And I will shoot that idea down every single day of the week. You need an education after college, but you don't need to go to college, okay? But it gives veterans an opportunity also for better loans with homes, and this drives more and more people to move out to the suburbs and grow everything. So, and reason also why people move out to the suburbs, they were having a lot of babies. That's called the baby boom, and the baby boomers, they're okay boomer people. So they were born in the 1950s and 1960s, the late 40s, 50s, and early 60s. Because when men came home from war, they got married pretty much instantly and dropped a lot of kids. And it's very difficult to have like 5-6 kids in a cramped little apartment in lower Brooklyn. So that also gives rise to the suburbs. So the 1950s get kind of like put in a nice little time capsule a lot of the time, like, oh, that's America's golden years. Well, remember, it was, if you say that, then America's future is not bright, because the 1950s had a tremendous amount of flaws. That's why I reviewed the civil rights movement. It just showed that there was a huge gap in the haves and have-nots. And I hope moving forward in this country that there's less have-nots in this country. And we need to eliminate racism. We need to do our best and continue to work on eliminating poverty in this country and creating real opportunity for all those around us. So, a lot in this video. If you have any questions, please post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.